Hello there and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley. My name is Draxter Dupre and I'm here with Joe Yardley in the new year 2017. We've been away. Hi, Joe, and Happy New Year.
Hello, Happy 1929.
Oh, my God. The year's always the same with you.
Yeah, that's, looks much better.
Today on the show, Marc Canter, the godfather of multimedia. Hold on, Second Life fanatics. I know what you want to talk about. You want to talk about the elephant in the room. And by that, I don't mean me.
I do.
Of course, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
First things first. The bulk of the show, Marc Canter, godfather of multimedia, founder of Macromind. In 1982, he founded Macromind with one of the first, I think the first music and graphics editor. He then merged this with Macromedia, and then that was absorbed by Adobe. Marc Canter also had one of the first sort of online video series called The Marc Canter Show. We linked to it. He had an online restaurant operating system.
What?
An online restaurant operating system. But fear not, we're going to talk about something even wackier in this interview. We're going to talk about virtual worlds. We're going to talk a little bit about politics and communism. His grandfather was a communist.
Yeah. I mean, boo. I mean, I don't remember. What's the current status of communism?
Well, we don't know with all the fake news and stuff, so we have no idea who's bad and who is good. It's very confusing.
My parents were communists.
Oh my God.
Or pacifists, or both, I think. Oh God.
I mean, you live in 1929, so you know a lot about communism.
Ja, und erst das Fressen, dann die Moral.
Ganz genau. We're going to get into with Marc Canter, who is now developing something that is so strange that he'll talk about it. I think it's fascinating. But Joe, just a little teaser for the bulk of the show. He is developing a talk show that has an AI component or a base. The basis is an AI where you put a talk show together or what we're doing, a podcast or a video show, and the AI is creating offshoots based on the personalities of the hosts. The artificial intelligence that is underlying this whole thing would create an evil version of you and then create an offshoot version of this podcast where you're hosting it in an evil way.
There is no way a computer can create a version of me that's more evil than I already am.
Now, Marc Canter is probably going to be successful with this venture, except for exactly what you just said, that it's absolutely impossible to create a more evil version. But anyway, he's going to explain this, and it's fascinating, it's wacky, and Marc is he's going to diss Silicon Valley quite a bit. We're going to go into detail. We're going to go into current politics, how technology affects everything, and yeah, it's a fascinating conversation. But first, we are very thankful for our sponsors. We have new sponsors. We have old sponsors. Please look at the sponsor page, click on it, and consider purchasing something from the sponsors. You can call us. You can email us. You can provide us with news scoops. We're going to do more live shows this year. We're going to actually do one next week in Second Life. But let's now start by talking about about the elephant in the room, which is a virtual world that people have been speculating about. I heard, Joe, through the grapevine, that a video came out that shows how people build things in Project Sansar.
They do?
Okay, I made that video with Loz Hyde, who's known from Second Life. But what do you think about this video and about the announcement? I mean, Linden Lab was fairly successful in generating a lot of press. So this was kind of a media blitz with very positive articles, even from our friend over at New World Tropes, who said that it looks very polished.
Yeah, it is quite an impressive video, and I think this is the first actual footage that we've got from Sansar that impresses people in general. It looks good up until now, unless you've actually been in Sansar or seen actual live footage. What we've seen so far looked like Second Life on a very good computer, and this just pushes it. I mean, it looks a lot better. And, it is still from for outsiders, it's still, it looks good, but that's about it. So, but it's a very good first impression for an official video, and it has gone sort of viral, if you can use that word.
I think it's been successful outside of Second Life, which I think was kind of really the goal, to push this out towards the sort of mainstream tech press and really kind of create a lot of buzz around in those circles rather than the Second Life blogs. That's also why I couldn't submit it to you, this video, prior or in RFA from Modem World. But I want to ask you, because I mean, you hinted at it. I mean, obviously, this is the first in a series of little sort of vignettes that are going to peel back the onion of what's possible.
Yeah, what I did find interesting is that the building that we're seeing, this grand hall, is also in Second Life,
and it looks pretty good in Second Life too.
It looks pretty good in Second Life, so. It would be so that is quite fascinating. Not only because you can directly compare it, you can go there in Second Life and look at it with your graphics set to maximum, and then see how it looks there. But also, it makes it very interesting and a bit mysterious how far we can go when it comes to importing buildings from Second Life into Sansar.
I can tell you that much, that it's not possible to just take Prim-based buildings and put it into Sansar. That's not going to be possible.
Well, unless you turn the Prim building into a mesh building and DAE file. DAE. Yeah, that one. Mm-hmm. And that would mean, if I'm correct, that will mean that I could pretty much import the entire sim of 1920s Berlin, because I built that with Prims, but then I turned it into Mesh with Mesh Studio, and that's just interesting. That's something I want to try. Of course, I want to build everything new and better, but if I could go into Sansar and upload a building tomorrow, then at least I've got a home. I've got a roof over my head in Sansar.
At this point, I'm not going to confirm or deny if that's possible what you're suggesting, but it's super interesting thought, and it's interesting what you're saying. I mean, this is kind of what I hear as well, is that two things. We see a lot of kind of eye candy building, but we don't see much more. I mean, at the end, we see two avatars kind of walking away, so that suggests that there's people in there. Loki, our friend Loki Elliott, has dissected the UI that you see a little bit. He's been on Twitter. I'm just actually looking at this past Twitter feed where he put screenshots there and screen grabs and goes like, okay, the UI, interesting what you can do. You can put your little objects into the feed, into the world, and then so I got feedback that drove me a little nuts, because people say, oh, this doesn't look like SL 2.0. And Joe, you and I have been sort of reporting on this, and Ebbe has been like a broken record on this, right? I mean, to my knowledge, from the very first moment that this was accidentally announced by him, I guess, that they're working on stuff 2.5 years ago, whatever that was, he's been saying, no, this is a separate thing. This is not SL 2.0.
Yeah, but everyone.
People don't listen.
No, but everyone's always going to keep thinking that and saying that. I mean, it is a virtual world. It's it is kind of a sequel. And they can say what they want, but in the back of your mind, there's still a little voice going, ooh, it's Second Life 2.0.
I guess what the problem is here is, number one, that it suggests that they're going to shut down Second Life, that it's a replacement. That's false. That's silly.
Yeah, that is silly.
And we're going to talk about the Pages feature in just a minute, because I think it is ludicrous to suggest that they have abandoned Second Life. There is just zero evidence, even if you're just looking at the fake news.
Yeah, but no, people have to realize that Linden Lab is a company, a business, and they're in America, and they're a bunch of capitalists. So they're not going to shut down Second Life as long as it's making money. It's that simple. You're not going to kill the goose that lays the golden eggs.
The golden prims. Absolutely. The thing that, again, I mean, let's just repeat this. SL is not going to shut down. I'm not going to abandon Second Life. And also, I think, of course, it's natural to speculate where Sansar is going. But I would be very careful because people have been commenting based on this video saying, yeah, of course it looks great, but you know what? Virtual Worlds is about people and it's about communicating and it's about avatars. Now, dear listener, no offense, but do you honestly believe that Linden Lab is so stupid not to realize that the key to success of any virtual world is avatars, free avatar customization, social VR? Come on. Of course, we're not going to show it in the first video. We may not be showing stuff that is possible or not possible or in the pipeline or the roadmap in the next 5 videos. But come on, I know people out there think Linden Lab is a bunch of completely inept idiots, but they're not that stupid.
No, that's just a few of them.
What?
Nothing.
Yeah, it's but people are so passionate about this, and I got so many messages where people say like, yeah, you know what, you can't even talk in Sansar.
And Ebba has confirmed officially, like Trump does on Twitter.
You know what? Oh my God! Ebbe is the Trump of Linden Lab in that sense. They try to hold him back. They're trying to get his phone.
It has happened once or twice where it just appears, and we're not sure, of course, that Ebbe is telling a few things before the rest at Linden Lab said, "Let's go and tell everyone." Ebbe was going, "Let's tweet this." But yeah, he officially tweeted that there is text chat in Second Life, so you can even chat with text. It's very basic. It doesn't quite work properly as they want it yet, but
Is that what he said? He said it doesn't work? What the hell is wrong with him?
He said it's basic. So,
maybe I should follow him on Twitter, but I'm already following Trump.
He blocked you after those dirty messages you sent him.
Oh, that's why. I was looking for him in the directory. I couldn't find him.
Yeah.
So this is interesting because the chat, and I think this is really important, again, for us to repeat, that Sansar is not a world that requires a headset. You can enjoy this world without a headset. You can actually text chat, which I think is awesome that they put that in right off the bat, because in high fidelity, it's also possible, but it was kind of an afterthought. It was the chat interface was created by one of the users, because in the beginning they were going like, yeah, nobody's going to use it. Everybody's going to use voice. I think that's ludicrous to assume this.
But if you think that, you totally do not understand your users. I mean, which is quite interesting if you've had a virtual world for 13 years.
Right. If you're the godfather of modern virtual worlds, or your name is Philip Rosedale, and you don't understand how people would like to not sometimes use voice.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the things about Second Life. I mean, you should really know that, with all due respect.
With all due respect, Mr. Rosedale. Due respect, right here.
Yeah, that shows ignorance.
So this is what we know about Sansar. Now, do you feel like when you watched this video, did you get feedback, or do you feel yourself that it's unfair because it shows someone who is obviously, I don't know. I mean, it's unclear. Laws doesn't say he's a professional. I mean, we know from the profile I did previous of him that he does work in the film industry. So I heard a little bit of negative feedback in the sense of, yeah, they're making it really just for professionals, and me as an amateur or hobbyist,
well,
I can't.
They kind of are. I mean, you need 3D software for it, and I know that for many people in Second Life that is not a problem. I know that lots of people have been playing with Blender and things like that, but for countless others, that is already professional. That is already a big step up from what they're doing in Second Life. So I completely understand that. Especially if it looks this good. I mean, if you want to build a building like this, professional or not, you have to be an expert in Photoshop. You have to be an expert in Blender or other 3D software. This is not building like Second Life, and I know it will not make Sansar look good, but I think people would have been much more relieved if they'd shown, Auntie Judy from next door, slicing a few bricks together.
This is really interesting, Joe, because I think you have sort of a clairvoyant quality, because Aunt Judy is actually in my calendar to be profiled next. She's been in the Sansar closed beta for a while now. But seriously,
you know what I mean, though, right?
Yeah, no, I completely understand, and I want to relieve people's anxieties about this a little bit. I can't say a lot, but what I can say is that Sansar does function like a game engine in many ways, in that you can light things in the world. So you can do very sophisticated stuff without any big skills in 3D modeling software.
But you can't build a house.
I cannot confirm or deny that at this point. How did I become the FBI director? Oh, wait a minute. The FBI director just...
No, they're the good guys these days. So
I'm not so sure. Yeah, I know that this is a fear, that the collaborative building aspect and the simple sort of prim-based building is going to fall by the wayside. But I cannot comment on this. I can tell you that the stated goal on the roadmap is to make VR creation possible for Aunt Judy and Uncle George, who are in their late 70s and do not have a cell phone. This is the stated goal, and that roadmap is you're on that road.
Okay.
Let's just not beat a dead Sansar cat.
Horse.
Elephant. No, I mean this is what can I say?
I don't know.
To me, the collaborative building aspect, personally, again, this is something that makes Second Life unique. If the statistics show that nobody builds with prims, and that the main people who are making the money or are successful or whatever are building stuff offline in other software, then bring it in, it doesn't matter. It still is a completely revolutionary aspect of Second Life, and High Fidelity does have that to an extent. I would be very surprised if Sansar wouldn't have that.
Yeah. Well, it is something that is very difficult to sort of figure out until you're actually there.
We got to move on quickly to the pages. Let's leave the Sansar thing. Maybe by next week we'll have more videos. I don't know. I cannot confirm or deny. I like saying that now. We have some news from Second Life pages, which is really, really cool, and another firm proof that they have not abandoned at all Second Life in terms of adding features, and they're not only maintenance but really adding stuff.
For those who have not read the news.
Yeah, what is that Pages thing?
Well, Pages is quite simply a website or a page on the official Second Life website where you can sort of make a little presentation about your place in Second Life, about your sim. If you've put it in search. And it allows you to show a picture, even a 360 degrees rotatable picture.
Right. Let's remind folks there is a project viewer where you can create 360 photos in Second Life. So you can make that photo, you can put it on your page, and you have a full web page that you can share on all social networks that highlights your sim.
And it is still in beta, so there are already millions of suggestions made by people to improve it. And, there's some things that are not quite right yet, but it's already quite a good idea. It is very similar to something I've been suggesting for a year or 3. And it's a really, really good idea.
And here I have my page, which I'm going to link on the blog. And this is something I haven't tried it, but I'm going to try right when we're off the air, because you can embed a YouTube video in that page. Now, but get this, maybe you can embed a live stream.
Oh.
because if you put your avatar or an avatar that acts like a camera on your sim in a static position or on some sort of rotating prim, or like let's say in 1920s Berlin on the front of the train, let's say, and then you broadcast this stream to YouTube Gaming. The question is if that would show up there, because in essence, what that would mean, if you share your page and people go to your page, they have a clean, nice overview of your sim and they have a live stream via YouTube Gaming.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. The only problem, and that is one that we need sorting out quickly, that I've got at the moment is that you need to log in to see these pages. And that is a big deal because you want outsiders to see these as well. You know, people who are not in Second Life.
No, but wait a minute. You can share this on Twitter, on Facebook, and Google+.
Yeah, but to see the page, you have to be logged in to Second Life if the rating is anything but general.
Oh, good point. So, in other words, if you're not a Second Life user, resident.
Yeah, you can't see anything that's mature or adult, which, you know, is understandable because, you know, you don't want to get Lynn Lab into trouble. But they need to go and figure something out, perhaps a little disclaimer before you see the page that sorts it out. Because, this is something that if you make a really good page, it can be used to bring outsiders into Second Life.
Absolutely. Okay, before we go to the Marc Canter interview, a little musical break today with an artist called Neukatz. And Neukatz is the alter ego of Noise Pap. And Noise Pap is, frankly, in my humble opinion, one of the best, let's just say the best musician currently touring in Second Life. And I have the privilege to profile him for the next video, and since I heard a lot of cats meowing in the back of your microphone, it's only appropriate to go to a tune by
dozens of cats living in my house.
You're a crazy cat lady.
I sure.
Neukatz with a tune called Hickepick im Hoppekarten.
Na wunderbar, Kartoffelkopf.
And we'll be right back after this tune. This is Neukatz. So that was Neukatz with a song called Hicke im Hoppegarten. Do we have a translation for that?
Hicke Hoppegarten. Something about a garden.
Neukatz is awesome. He has another tune called Wo ist der Ball?
Where's the ball?
Yeah, that's right. All right, so let's go to the feature interview today. Marc Canter, the godfather of multimedia, founder of Macromind, that then turned into Macromedia. He's also the co-founder of Cola. That was a messaging application. Well, it still is, but he is no longer with the company. He's going to talk about an AI concept that he has. He has done stuff that is awesome before I was even born, and including the Marc Canter show. We're going to link to this. Actually, I was alive when he did that. The point is that Marc Canter is a staunch critic of Silicon Valley in many ways, and he's vocal about this. He's a proponent of open source solutions to a lot of things, and I'm just going to roll tape because his AI talk show concept is so crazy that even his grandfather, Harry Canter, who was the leader of the Communist Party in Massachusetts and a translator for the Soviet Union.
There used to be a big band with someone called Canter in the 20s and 30s.
Again, Marc Canter, all that stuff that I just told you is not fake news. It's all real. There's a deep ties between Marc Canter and the Soviet Union. The former Soviet Union at the time. Yeah. Here's Marc with a proper introduction. Here we go.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marc Canter, and I am your humble interviewee. Okay, let's begin the interview. Hi, my name is Marc Canter. I'm a 35-year software veteran. I'm based in San Francisco, California. I'm a software guy, sometimes called one of the fathers of multimedia. In the 90s, I dabbled in interactive music videos, developed some interactive TV systems, did all sorts of big stuff, waiting for the internet to get broadband. In the aughts, when broadband came along, I already had participated in, was part of what's called blogging, and then I started a white-labeled social networking platform. So I was building these white-labeled social networking systems, and I started a company which eventually became known as Cola. So Cola Messenger is a new kind of messaging app. You can go out and try that. And now I've moved on to kind of AI-based systems, what I call deep learning conversation engine, and that brings me up to today.
Before I ask you about what deep learning is and all the stuff that I don't understand, you dabbled a lot in interactivity, and as the father of multimedia, what do you think of virtual worlds and virtual reality?
Well, I'm kind of scarred because I had some close friends involved with it early on, and so much in our industry is about timing. So I would say that a lot of us early pioneers got very much scarred. This is, by my own counting, the third generation of VR and AR. So then I'm going to look at the quality of the 3D rendering. I'm going to look at the quality of the experience. And though I would say things like Tilt Brush and a few other products have really improved the experience, I, in general, don't like to put goggles on or glasses on. So I completely write off the entire effort.
You just said that what the business Silicon Valley is about is timing. I thought it was about monetizing users' data.
Yeah, no, you're right. Exploiting and manipulating people seems to be the best business model. Take, for example, chatbots. Okay, so chatbots are really important because of the evolution of interactivity. Yet most of the chatbots you see are about buying stuff, trying to convince people, getting recommendations, what I call intent-oriented kind of communication. There's nothing wrong with that. But I've identified a completely other kind of chatbot experience, which has nothing to do with data or exploiting people or selling shit, right? Or even advice. So the VCs are very anxious to invest in platforms and products that can exploit and monetize, and that's basically the opposite of what I do, which then of course makes it very hard to find investors.
And that's exactly why, and we're in the thick of the conversation right now, because you seem to, as I follow your posts, you do seem to have sort of a moral backbone. You have some ethics about what you just said about monetizing people's data without their knowing, or obscuring it. And you seem to have the goal for yourself to create a better future where we're kind of all on the boat, and not just sort of basically reframing a feudal system where there's a handful of people who are calling the shots and everybody's sort of looking there for some breadcrumbs raining down.
No, well, in one sense, it's an anti-plan, right? So rather than a distributed network of people where every player can progress based upon meritocracy, the world is about insiders and unfair advantages, which is, of course, exactly what Trump is about, right? So how do you proceed? Well, you proceed with honesty and truth. Right? Very simple notions, transparency, which is, of course, exactly what they're not doing. So I just continue to be honest and so the problem is that when you are honest and transparent, that gives people an opportunity to rip you off. So that's what happened with Cola, that my partners ripped me off and I had to sue them, right? So you can be idealistic and attempt to do the right thing, but that just gives people the opportunity to rip you off.
Let's summarize this real quick, what Cola was before. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I find the chapter on what you're doing now with AI is so fascinating. Cola was a messenger, and when you came out with this, I thought, like, frankly, I've been in Second Life. I've been in sort of persistent virtual worlds where people create all sorts of things. And then I look at you as a genius and a trailblazer. And frankly, my first thought was, a messenger? What's the big deal with this crap? I'm just looking at like, hey, I'm immersed in a 3D world where I can create my own world. And you're coming out with a messenger? Why?
So first of all, Cola still exists. You can download it. They haven't brought out an Android version yet. Hopefully they will. So Cola is revolutionary in that, first of all, messaging is the new OS. So just like apps replaced websites, so are messenger apps replacing apps, okay? So you do all your activity, you live inside of a messaging app.
I do live in Slack temporarily.
Okay, all right. So Slack is a great example. Now, so Slack has basically any kind of web service now built into Slack. If you need to store files, you need to do transactions. There's an app in China called WeChat. And this thing is booking billions of dollars of activity. You buy your McDonald's, you buy your movie tickets, everything you do inside the messaging app. To that ends, what Cola is a product that has a user interface, what's called a conversational interface platform. So you, a software developer, by using something called Facebook React, can create your own interface inside of Cola. So it is an open platform that any software developer with minimal coding experience could bring in any software, offer it inside of the Cola marketplace. And of course, these are exactly the things that aren't done yet. I could blame them for being greedy and kicking me out. They don't have their Android version yet, so they're far from fulfilling my vision of what the Cola platform could be. But the idea is that it's a platform, it's an open platform. You can build things inside of Facebook Messenger. You can build things inside of WeChat, etc. You can build things inside of Slack. So Cola is yet another independent, like Telegram, an independent messaging platform.
Now let's not get into the dispute you have with your former business partners, but is there an aspect, because this is interesting on a larger scale, is there an aspect to the Cola story that has to do with venture capital? Because, I mean, looking from the outside in to the bubble, I feel that the venture capital money is at issue. I mean, you hinted at that. Isn't that the core of the issue? If you want to create ethical platforms or social types of interactions, because they will demand the money back, and you get the money back by monetizing.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, the monetization model for Cola is pretty straightforward, and again, hard to say what they're doing since it's been over a year since I've been out of the company. So I can tell you that what the original designs were, because I can't say where they're at now, right? So the original designs were that an advanced user who's heavily into it, so the basic product's for free. Okay. And an advanced user would pay for premium features. Okay. So that's the model. Okay. So that's not as much about exploiting users' data. Though I should say that the executives in charge, I would not trust them. Okay. So now then in terms of the VC, absolutely, their fingerprints were all over getting rid of me. The ethical, transparent scenario would have been for them to come to me and say, well, gosh, we don't need you. We don't want you. We don't really need to market the product, and we want to get rid of you rather than steal my shares from me. Okay, so I had to sue them, and I'm prevented from talking about that settlement, because that is really ultimately the power that these people have, is the gag order that they put over you. So I can't tell you the name of the venture capitalist who fucked me or any details of the lawsuit. Though I should say that gets us back to disinformation. Okay, so we are now in an era where lying is accepted. The Wall Street Journal, I think it was yesterday, 2 days ago, said, oh no, we're not going to report on Trump's lies. We're not going to call his lies lies. And that is the essence of the problem here, is that Facebook allowed this fake news to propagate. And thus we have a fascist as a president, right? That's a problem, okay? So truth and honesty and morals and ethics are at the foundation of everything, which is, of course, exactly what Trump isn't about, is exactly what Zuckerberg lies about. It is exactly at the corrosion of Silicon Valley. Now, I'm not sure if that's about hyper normalization or not, but that's my opinion.
The film touches on it, but since this is the first show of 2017, let's stick with this subject matter. Some people have said that the whole fake news, and let's just sum up real quick, how do Facebook and Google make money with fake news? If you could put that in your own words very briefly, just for folks, if they don't understand it, because, people go like, yeah, but then just don't read it. I don't understand how they make money.
It's really, really fundamental. It's really obvious. Facebook is the next generation media platform. So just like every clickbait and ad that attempts to get you to click through, so like what BuzzFeed does and any of the ad networks, since the beginning of advertising, they trick you into clicking on something. You click through, and then that's how they make their money. Okay, they charge their advertisers based upon clicks. So throughout this Facebook timeline, you see all sorts of ads and articles and what they call native advertising, where they attempt to make the news entertainment, which is ultimately what happened to CNN. There's no longer a news channel. They're an entertainment channel.
I was just going to say, a cynic would now say, wait a minute, what's the difference between, I don't know, a press release or some...
There is no difference. There is no difference. So once news becomes advertising, then the goal is who can get the most advertising. And this is not something relegated just to the right wing. The left wing also fell prey to this, and hundreds of articles I would click through believing something, and it turns out it's fake. Why? Because ultimately those people are making money. So they may call themselves Occupy Democrats, but the fact is that they're just exploiting and manipulating me just as much as the right wing. Okay. So here comes Facebook, and they're running these ads. They're making a percentage of that money, right? So they're tricking you into clicking on false information, false ads, because they make money. It's a simple model. And then the other thing about all this stuff is that they're all liars, okay? So basically anything these people say is a lie. So that's one good way to judge it.
This will lead...
Who are you? Why do I believe you that you're a radio guy? Because you got long hair.
No, because Philip Rosedale, creator of Second Life and founder of Linden Lab, has once said, and I disagree with him, and I'm on the record with this, he said... when they asked him years ago when Second Life was really popular, they asked him, well, how do you sort of make sure that people are not sort of harassing other people and they're playing by the rules? And he gave to me, which is to me the boilerplate libertarian answer. He says, well, this is going to totally self-regulate. If one guy puts up a swastika flag in his virtual garden, then the neighbors will say, that's not cool, we don't want you here, and then he'll take it down. I personally don't believe that at all. But to answer your question, on the other hand, I have to say that I like to believe, the idealist in me likes to believe that the work that we do speaks for ourselves. So you can find out about the stuff that I've done. It's transparent, and from there you may deduct, or you may sort of get a picture of who I am. But I happen to be an extrovert guy who works kind of in that realm where I am sort of semi-public. I find it really problematic that introverted people are really underserved and marginalized communities. When we talk about social networks, the way they're set up, it rewards a narcissism that led us here. No, I mean, it's insane.
Yeah. No, you're right. Absolutely. The system is inherently tilted towards extroverts. I totally buy that. So that means that, I mean, let's just gauge, let's simplify it down to 3 levels, right? For an extrovert, it makes it easy for them to exploit and monetize. For an average person, they can go out and they can get information and they can hold conversations that they couldn't if there was no technology, if there was no internet. They couldn't do that. They'd have to go down to the local coffee shop. For an introvert, it's very terrifying. They get pushed around. It's a scary world. Some choose not to participate. Others lurk and are voyeurs, right? And that's the state of the world. It's the world of a bunch of extroverts yelling at each other.
But some people would say that algorithms that feed information that is based on, just to simplify it, Amazon tells me these books I'm interested in. Amazon constantly recommends really good books about the history of socialism because I'm a socialist. I wonder why they don't offer me Marxist books, but then the algorithm is not that good. My point is the silos, and this leads me now to the next question about your AI, and please elaborate on that, what you're planning to make, because from my layman's standpoint, oftentimes I think that algorithms are perpetuating and cementing silos as opposed to kind of opening us up to other people.
Right. But remember, there's also there's multiple layers going on simultaneously. So the issue of isolated platform battles, and to me, it's fascinating to watch each of the major platforms grab onto one of each of the major technologies, right? So whether it's AI, VR, shopping, streaming music, streaming video, the platform itself, the physical platform itself, the smartphone platform itself, each of these are separate wars, okay? Where a platform can maintain multiple wars at the same time, they then have their branding and their natural constituency. So all of a sudden, Salesforce is battling Amazon, is battling Facebook or Apple and Google and Microsoft, okay? So, what's the greatest thing you can do? Achieve the level of being a platform where you can maintain multiple wars going on, okay? So that's, of course, what Tesla wants to do. He's now doing both electric cars and solar panels and batteries, okay? And so that's the ultimate goal of these billionaires. Ultimately, it's their egos. What keeps them going is being able to be a real platform, okay? So in that world, the intersection, the interaction, the interlaying. So you bring up a great example where the recommendation engine is pushing you. It's the same way as deciding and curating your timeline. That's the natural way that they keep you separate. Now, I don't want to hear or see anything from the alt-right. So I simply prune my timeline. I cut those people out of the conversation, and I never hear about them, thereby creating my own little walled garden, my own little, put up my visors, so I only hear from the left, okay? But I can tell you, dude, the moment Bernie Sanders called himself a socialist, he lost the election. He could have played the entire thing out never mentioned the S word, and that might have been the difference between winning or not. He made it very easy for Hillary to win because he called himself a socialist. We don't elect socialists in the US. We elect fascists, we elect Nazis, we elect white men, right? But we don't elect socialists.
Damn it, Mark. Now you opened another fascinating thread to this conversation. And I know if I had a bunch of beers here and no deadlines, I would talk to you for 2 days straight, because I slightly disagree, because I think younger people, they don't care about that word anymore. I think.
Yeah, but you're absolutely true. But guess what? It's a really simple answer. The electorate is not entirely made up of younger people. Look what happened in England and in Britain, dude. Right? That's exactly what happened. Was the old people out in the countryside were lied to, and they were manipulated, and they overwhelmed the vote of the young people. Right? And it's really simple numbers, It's okay, and it's really pretty straightforward. It's like they're manipulating us for the purposes of making money. If you wake up in the morning time and it's all about money, then you're eventually going to figure out how to make money, right? So now my family suffers, right? I played martyr, and my family suffers because we don't have enough money, okay? So in society, you got to have money, right? So now what I should have done was, back when I had money, I should have squirreled the money away like a squirrel into little bank accounts, right? Rather, what I did was I used my money for freedom, to be able to express myself and to think independently and to develop ideas and software that wasn't based upon making money. Now, that investment I made in myself, I've been able to carry forward for the past 20, 25 years. And so that's kept me thinking independently. And so now it's just a matter of timing to get the product design right, which is why I'm focused on AI.
So let's talk about AI. I mean, what are you planning on doing? Well, first of all, again, is there a way to feed the AI, and talk in layman's terms?
Your AI is only as good as its data. You could conceivably have the same algorithm and have 3 different sets of data and get 3 completely different experiences. Okay. So that is the essence of AI. To really understand it, it's not just as simple as a smart algorithm and then you put some users to it. Okay. So the algorithms are only as good. The experience is heavily weighted towards what the initial raw data is. Okay. Now, then what happens, what the algorithms do is they take that raw data and they process it. And we can talk about all the different ways that they process it and all the magic juju and deep learning and things that happen in that processing. And then what happens is that there's this output experience, which is roughly divided between texting, like typing at the AI, called chatbots, or talking to the AI. Okay, but in fact, what happens in the background is exactly the same thing. What's called natural language processing. The software comes in, it takes a look at what these words are that you're saying to it, and then it processes that and attempts to execute on it. Now, what I've done is I've lopped off 95%, actually 99% of all AI by saying I'm not interested in anything that is intent-oriented, where a user comes to a system and says, this is what I want. I want to buy this. I'm looking for this kind of information. That's the stuff that's called low-hanging fruit. It's pretty easy to do that. You develop a vocabulary so the AI understands shoes, beer, health advice. I want to book a table at a restaurant. I want to buy an airplane ticket. Those kind of things is what chatbots and AI is all about. Where the AI falls flat is in what we call conversation, where this is ongoing flowing of things that aren't necessarily intent-oriented. And then, of course, it gets into all the issues of language, cognition, and true AI, right? That's where we're not very progressed. The movie Her and all the fantasies of what the future can be. It's still very much fantasy. So I focused on one area in this area, which is entertainment and narrative storytelling. So luckily there is a little bit of a history of that. I've hooked up with a partner who's been doing that for over 20 years. And so we're focused on developing a deep learning system that has an engine in it that's all about telling stories. Now the trick is how to make this relevant to today. And the secret weapon is video selfies. Right. This goes back to the narcissism of blogging and where smartphones have brought us. I can hold my smartphone up to my face. I can take a shot. I can take a video. Thus is born Snapchat, Instagram, and the whole world of narcissistic stuff, really starting with YouTube. So, I very much track PewDiePie, iHasCupquake, Twitch, and the whole world is video selfies. So I'm attempting to merge video selfies with chatbots.
You're doing this for the greater good. PewDiePie is not that bad, actually. I think he's pretty funny.
Okay, so when we say greater good, I will be very transparent and honest. I need to make money to send my girls to college. I need to pay the rent. I need to buy food. I need to buy marijuana on a regular basis, okay? So because of that, I need to make a living. If I'm going to make a living, because I can't exist inside of big companies and use my skill set, I have to start a company. That company has to have a business model so my investors can get a return on investment. So we develop the same notion like cola, which is I believe that premium users who are using the software and they're getting good at it, they at some point would be willing to pay for advanced features. So that's exactly what we would do with this new company, which I think I'm going to call Instigate.
That's awesome.
So you like the name Instigate?
Oh my God. I think this is quite brilliant. Because it has also gate in it, which is very important. Pizzagate, all this stuff.
Yeah. I didn't want to include the word bot. And at one point I was calling it aha.ai because the essence of the experience is this aha moment. Okay. Well, then, you let it sit on your tongue, you play with it a little bit. And we realize that the essence of the product is the instigator, the person who lifts up the phone and instigates the conversation, because without them, you'd have nothing. So I actually see Instigate as the next generation of self-expression, that if we were doing blogging 20 years ago, and we started doing YouTubes 10 years ago, where we are right now, today, is video selfies and chatbots. So how do you merge those two together and create a completely new form of self-expression that will last for at least the next 10 years? Think of it as a puppeteer and a puppet. So there's Geppetto and there's Pinocchio. Okay. And obviously there's been many movies and stories told of a puppeteer inventing a puppet. Oh, Frankenstein. Dr. Frankenstein creates Frankenstein. Okay. So the way our system will work, it will be only as good as how smart the puppeteer is. So I'm not going to hold back and say, no, you can't do that, because that's the beautiful thing. That was the beautiful thing about Macromind and Macromedia. I had no idea what people were going to do with the tools, right? So I think of Instigate as a next generation set of tools, and that it's up to the author, the creator, to use the tools creatively. I now have a new kind of hammer, a new kind of screwdriver. What do you do with it? So you shoot a video. You then seed the conversation. I call it a bot show, okay? So you go to the bot, and the bot is like a YouTube channel, and a bot has many shows in it. So I go to Bernhard. How do you pronounce your first name? Bernhard or Bernard?
Well, I've been in the U.S. for so long, and now I call myself Bernard, but it's Bernhard. You're right. Thank you.
Bernhard. Okay. So I go to Bernhard bot, and Bernhard bot has 117 shows. When I go there, there is the current show, right? But I can go back to the archives and see all 116 of the other shows. Okay. Now, Bernhardt, the guy, the human, may choose to wake up one day and says, "Oh, I need to do an alter ego today. I'm going to do Freundlich." And so now the Freundlich bot is all about sexual stuff and like weird dildos, And then 5 years later, this guy, this human goes, "Man, I'm married. I made some babies. I better make something safe for my kids." So now we're going to do the Martin bot. And Martin Bot is really nice, and he talks about changing diapers and what's the best kind of toys to buy. So conceivably, the human could maintain multiple bots, each with a different set of morals and ethics and content. Okay, so the tool allows you to do that. You can create a bot. The bot has shows, and those shows, each show is itself its own deep learning conversation.
That's amazing. And then the bot really, is sort of a subset of my own personality. I feed that bot with my personality, and that bot exaggerates or tones down certain aspects.
No, because guess what? Unlike YouTube, unlike this radio show, see, the state of the art is commenting. And those are very flat, and they don't ultimately affect the content itself. So every piece of video, every blog post, every written text has the principal body of work. And then there are these extra things called comments, which you can turn on and off, and you can go through and get rid of the trolls, and that's state of the art. But what happens if the interactivity went beyond commenting? What happens to the bot show when we call them the interactor, right?
Oh my God.
So you have the instigator creates the conversation. Well, who is the bot having the conversation with? The interactor. Now the interactor comes along and he can contribute. And so he's just typing text, right? Now the moment he holds his phone or her phone up to her face, and she records a video or audio and contributes it back into the bot show conversation. Now, who owns that conversation? Is it the instigator, or is it the interactor, or do they both own it? And that's when it's only two-way. What happens when the instigator takes this conversation? So let's say I instigate this one show, and there are 100 instantiations of the show. 100 different interactors come along and interact. Well, guess what?
Do you have 100 shows?
Do you have 100? Well, it's the same show.
Well, offshoots. I see what you're saying. This is amazing.
Right. Okay, now I, the instigator, choose the 13th one, the 52nd one, and the 99th one. And those three shows, I decide to push out into the community. So now they're open and anybody can contribute. Now the biggest problem we have is chaos and the trolls.
Sorry to interject just a second, because I just realized that you're creating something that will get Trump off Twitter, because this will be so absorbing. You may do us all a favor. He may implode by watching his own show.
Okay, so now let me differentiate, be very careful. Let me differentiate between the content and the actual what I can do as a technologist to solve the problem, okay? So, because this is actually the basis of a patent application, and I don't necessarily do patents to prevent people from doing the similar idea. I do patents because I need to build value in my company so I can send my kids to college, okay? So the biggest problem that the world has, and the first thing that came up when we came up with this idea, is how do we prevent the trolls? How do we stop them? Because if you're going to go beyond commenting, where you want to open this up to the outside world, the problem now is that there are trolls. There is the alt-right. There are Nazis still alive. Okay, so it turns out that when you're creating these algorithms, and you're thinking about this problem from the get-go, from day one, turns out you can provide hooks, think of them as wires, APIs, into the bowels of the engine, into the essence of how the deep learning works and how these conversations grow. Let me state an obvious statement, because you asked me about deep learning. Each conversation, each bot show gets smarter over time. When I start off the bot show with one interactor, it's a 1 or a 3. When I add 100 different people all interacting with the same bot show, my bot show is now up to a 50. And when I then add 10,000 different people all interacting with the bot show, now we got a bot show that's an 80 or a 90, okay? Now, it's fractured, it's splintered into 10,000 instantiations. Each of them are their own separate log, their own separate sequence of conversation, yet they're all based upon the same bot show, the same seed. When an architect named Louis Sullivan used to design buildings, he was a peer of Frank Lloyd Wright. Okay, so this guy, Louis Sullivan, created the Chicago School of Architecture. And he would start with a single shape, a single organic shape. Okay, and from that, he would build an entire high-rise building. Okay, so it's the same way with the bot show. It is based upon the same kernel. Okay, and since this smart algorithm has evolved this conversation, I can go back, tap, and go back and rewind the wiki page. I get rid of all the changes that happened, and I can go back to a point before the disinformation was added to the page. We're going to be able to do that with our smart learning. That's the patent, one of the patents. Okay, so now think of it as training a bonsai tree. I sit there with my little pruning scissors and I clip away at the shape of the tree as it grows, because I want it to be in the shape of an elephant or a giraffe. You know, we've seen these at Disneyland. Okay, where the trees and the organic things are grown and carved. Pruning is the English word. So you prune the tree to the shape that you want it to be. We're going to provide the instigator the ability to prune the conversation, to get rid of the trolls. Because remember, one person's troll is the other person's socialist advocate, okay?
What you're describing here sounds really compelling to me. You need to send your kids to college. I completely understand. So you're focusing on entertainment, interactive storytelling. I see a big problem that you can't solve and you're not responsible for. But one of the problems is media literacy in the population. Don't we have a huge problem in even differentiating between what news is and what entertainment is? And are you not feeding into this and making everybody even more disengaged from engaging with stuff to change the world?
Well, as you know, one of the best ways to change the world is through satire and through education, right? And so at this point, especially since we have generation after generation of young people who've been trained to believe the lies, and these people really hated Hillary to the point where they would vote for a fascist over Hillary. Whereas it's apparent that 80, 90% of who Hillary was based upon these lies. Okay? So I believe that entertainment is as strong of a vehicle for education as the truth, right? And so we know that from the 20s and 30s. How did trade unionism start? They were trying everything they could to stop it, but yet it was through community theater and music that educated, okay? So to be able to get to the masses, you need to do anything you can. Yes, you need to create marches, because remember, Bernie was getting 50,000 people and the media ignored it. Right? So you have to try every way you can. Colbert, Jonathan Stewart, the TV people were able to educate, through just talking at coffee shops, local. You have to do everything you can. And so I just see this as yet another weapon in the arsenal to fight ignorance. Mm-hmm.
And if the alt-right uses it?
Okay, so remember, here's a beautiful thing about democracy, okay, and the First Amendment. Mm-hmm. If the alt-right,
which we don't have in Germany,
okay,
which I love.
Okay, so the classic example is the Christians who lock their children away and teach them about creationism, okay? Now, an inquisitive Christian child, if they really believe doctrine, would then question when they see a picture of Adam and Eve, and they would say, well, Mom, if Adam and Eve were created by God, how come they have belly buttons? Are you lying to me? So you can raise your children with doctrine, right? You can lie to them their whole life. And I can tell you story after story of examples of how ignorant children grow into adults. That is why there is Nazis and racism in America, because they were taught by their parents, right? But and this has been the problem with the Democrats in the right, in the left wing, if I truly understand the First Amendment, and I truly understand the separation of church and state, and I truly believe in freedom of expression, I cannot deny those Nazis to teach their children how to become young Nazis. That is the fate of those children, that they were born to the wrong parents. We see this often also with the Mennonites and the Amish, right? There's even a TV show called Breaking Amish, where these Amish children who are raised to be religious are trying to break away from the cult that they were raised in, okay? So I would argue that my tools should be agnostic, and that whatever you want to do with the tool, you do with it. Remember, that was the premise. Because if I try to put in any kind of filtering or manipulation, I might prevent the lunar exploration of someone taking its off planet to a completely different planet and starting a completely different new kind of civilization. So my tools are designed to be agnostic. Now, and this is where the premium feature comes in. Some Nazi family wants to then get the pruning hooks out, and they want to cut out all the left-wing stuff and all that dangerous stuff about democracy and only make it a Christian right-wing thing. They pay me $10 a month, right? That's my premium model, right? I want lots of those people so that I can send my girls to really good colleges.
Mm-hmm. So that they take over the world away from the Nazis.
It's hard for me to say. I don't have the liberty to extrapolate that far out, right? As a futurist, as a visionary, I stop at, here's this amazing new kind of hammer and screwdriver. Go for it, people. Invent the future, right? I'm a toolsmith. I invent tools to enable the Nazis to train their children, because then my hope is that there are plenty of left wing. Like my father, his father was a famous American communist. So my father was raised in communist theater camp, being trained that the workers of the world deserve to have rights. Okay? My grandfather was a union organizer. My father became a union organizer because of the way he was raised. Now, my father attempted to do that on me. The problem was that we were living on the south side of Chicago in the 60s and 70s, where every single election that we participated in, we lost. And so I took the idealism of my father and the perpetual losing, and I turned it to something where I thought I could win, and that was software. So I take the idealism of my father in politics and I apply it to software. So my radicalism, my activism is about inventing new kinds of tools, because at the end of the day, by having a new kind of hammer and screwdriver, we can go beyond commenting. And that alone is enough that I can get into heaven and come up with enough money to feed my children, put a roof over our heads, and send them to a good college. That's enough, and then I can die.
All right, so that was Marc Canter. We wish him a very, very long life, to see his children graduate from a fine college and his AI bot shows thrive. I mean, I would be thrilled to merge an alternate personality trait or a minor personality trait of myself and Joe Elevated, merge that with commentary of our show, preferably Medhu's commentary, because he's a libertarian. I'm a communist. I'm a socialist. Joe is a former communist. And then we can just automate this entire show. And then the cool thing is, I don't have to do the show anymore. I don't have to waste time hanging out with Joe, and Medhu is all happy and the libertarians are happy.
Yeah.
That's the end of the show. I think we should play another tune with Neuketz and then get out of here. But before, I want to say that we're filming the episode 43 of the Drax Files. It's not going away just because of Sansa and all this other crap. Drax Files episode 43 will feature Noise Pap, who's the father of Neukats. Anything else going on this weekend, Joe, for you? Or are you still stuck in 1929 and look at your pages?
No, I'm in Time Portal.
Oh, that's
I'm
right.
working on another time zone, the 18th century France, a wonderful chateau.
Wow.
Yeah, in the snow. It's like a 1980s video clip there.
Oh, the future of VR is like a 1980s video game, according to Larry Rosenthal.
Groovy.
We're going to end the show with a tune of performed by Neukats, Georg Friedrich Händel, Il Vostro Maggio, from the opera Rinaldo, as performed by Neukats.
Patriana, Catriani, Vacunana.
Yeah. How about a little Australian?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I mean, this is the first show of the new year, so we gotta give people the whole range.
Let's do all of them, mate. Go on then. Let's do 50,000 accents. I don't care.
You know, the good thing about Sansar is that there's absolutely nobody from Australia in there right now.
What? Really? That's racist.
As a matter of fact, a very famous Australian content designer contacted me and said, "Why am I not in there?" And I said, "It's your accent." All right, that's it.
I love the Australian accent.
Next week, live show with some super special guests. We're going to talk Sansar anxiety. We're going to have a special guest on who is prominent in Second Life and who is also in Sansar.
A shrink?
No, it's not a shrink.
Oh,
do you know a shrink that is in Sansar?
I know, but talking about Sansar anxiety, we need a professional.
Okay, then I'm gonna book a professional on that panel as well, just to calm us all down.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for the show. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks for supporting, and goodbye, Joe.
Auf Wiedersehen.
The Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Time Portal, SL Artist, Warbug, Bay City You Know for Kids, 01 Heavy Industries Corporation, Extraordinary, Ionic, Maven Homes, Giza Creations, Botanical, Strawberry Sing, Abranimations, Eros Avatars, Caravel Design, The Cube Republic, What Next, Landscapes Unlimited, Fallen Gods Incorporated, and Death Row Designs. Thumbnail by Justin Esparza. Contact the show via Skype, Drax Files, Avatar Drax Files, or email radio@draxfiles.com.